strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Bulldog here, and I'm going to continue on with this counter guide series. Today, we are again looking at Supreme Leader Kylo, and we're going to be defeating him with a Darth Revan squad. This is an outstanding squad to use against him because it works against a bunch of different Kylo squads. It works against Full First Order, it works against Mixed, with Malak, with Thrawn, Darth Revan in there. There are a lot of different combinations, and I can't promise that I've tested them all, but it does work against a lot of variations. And it's got a very high win rate. So there is some RNG involved. If you get some unlucky shocks resisted, it can go wrong very fast, but generally you're going to have an extremely high win rate with this team. And the core four that we have here are Darth Revan, Thrawn, Bastila Fallen, and Malak. Now your fifth just needs to be a very tanky pre-taunt. So somebody who can absorb the first blow from Kylo, and if they die on the second blow, that's actually going to be okay. That's going to happen a lot of times. That's not a problem. So as long as they've got a pre-taunt or somebody like fives that the computer likes to focus down, I've seen that work. But somebody like GBA, GeoBrute Alpha, who calls Brute, who has a pre-taunt, actually does not work as well here because Brute isn't as tanky. A lot of times he'll get one shot by by Kylo, and then we run into some problems there. But as long as they're a good tank that's got a pre-taunt, it will work. And so we've seen this team out there before. A lot of people have suggested that Bastila Fallen has to be faster than Darth Revan. That is actually not the case with this team. I can see where it can work better, and it can prevent some things from going wrong, but that's an unnatural turn order. And if you're doing something like that in Arena, that's fine. That's something you can move around as you need it. But in Territory Wars and Grand Arena especially, you don't know what you're going to come up against, and it's not always advantageous to actually set up that to basically slow your Darth Revan down that much, so that Bastila Fallen can go faster. And this way we can use the natural turn order, and it will actually work just fine. So there are a few little quirks to this. So we'll get into the first matchup here. This is going to be full First Order. And if Sith Trooper is there, you're probably going to lose your tank right away. With the hits from Kylo plus the assist from Sith Trooper, that's okay. So right there's where I'm talking about you can get some resist. You're going to get two chances to shock the opposing tank. Now, if there was a second tank here, we might be in trouble. Because we couldn't get a second shock out there. Sometimes Malak can get a third chance, but that's where you can get some things going wrong. So if you're facing a high tenacity tank, you might want to add a little bit of potency. Darth Revan, thanks to ferocity, is going to get a lot of potency, but sometimes you'll get some tanks out there. You can get some crews that are loaded up with tenacity, so that can make this team a little tougher to run. So you might add some potency there, but generally you're not going to actually need any potency. And then it's the same thing that we've been doing with a bunch of different counters on a bunch of different teams. You're using Darth Revan and Fear to control everybody. So a couple things that you've got to watch out for is Sith Trooper over there can go a little nuts. So I like to kill him off first if possible. But sometimes that's not going to be the case. So right there, Sith Trooper gets a bonus turn. If he was not feared, he could have done a little bit of damage. Now I don't think he's going to do enough to get through all four of those. But sometimes you'll have somebody like Hux or First Order officer, somebody like that die first, and then Sith Trooper takes out your Thrawn, and then Kylo's not fractured anymore, and things can go south that way. So pay attention there. That's definitely something to keep in mind. Let's flip over to this next battle, and we'll look at some other things that can happen. So this one is against a Darth Malak and Thrawn. And the good thing about this team doesn't have Sith Trooper in there because of the Padme counter. So yeah, again, we got to resist there, and that's going to basically allow us not to be able to fear everybody with Darth Revan right away. But that's okay. We got shock in there. We got a dispel. Thrawn was still able to get that fracture in, and that's the big thing. Getting Kylo fractured. So if we had Darth Revan in here, again, that resist would have been a problem. Let's say Darth Revan was in there instead of First Order officer, then Malak wouldn't have had, without that shock on Malak, on the opposing Malak, our Malak wouldn't have taunted, and then Darth Revan could have feared everybody, which would have feared Thrawn, which would have prevented fracture. So just kind of talk through some ways this team can go wrong with those resist in there. So that's something you have to be cautious of. But as long as those shocks land, I don't know if I've been testing this, running a bunch of different battles, trying to get different footage. I don't think I've ever lost a battle where I landed the shocks. So you're always going to have that minimum 15% chance to resist. So yeah, sometimes it's going to go wrong. It seems like it's more likely to go wrong against teams with multiple tanks because you have to land 2 shocks instead of 1. So just something that might be worth keeping in mind there. But it does still work just fine against double tanks. It works just fine with Kylo being the first one to go. Let's get that battle off there. It doesn't require a bunch of specific modding. So my crew in that, I was just getting ready to flip through the crew mods, but it's not, my exact mods aren't important. I'm not showing them because I don't want you to get caught up in exact speeds, exact defense, exact protections. That crew was actually had a speed arrow. So you actually don't need a speed arrow on your tank because your tank's probably not going to take a turn. Now in that last one we did, there were some that I survived with all 5, particularly the ones that didn't have Sith Trooper. You're starting to see a lot of teams without Sith Trooper because of that Padme counter. So that not having Sith Trooper actually helps this team quite a bit because first off, your tank can survive a little bit, which is huge. If Sith Trooper isn't getting that assist in there, gives crew a chance to survive that opening blast. But then also the other thing is you don't get if Sith Trooper is able to dispel some of those debuffs, that can cause a lot of problems. He dispels and can help the tanks get advantage back, and then you can run into some problems because you've got to be able to target Kylo. So it definitely works with Sith Trooper. Like I said, it works with all sorts of teams. But you're seeing a lot of arena teams removing Sith Trooper because of the Padme counter, and that's actually going to be beneficial for you here. So again, not a perfect team. You're never going to get a 100% win rate with these just because of those resist chance. But in general, it works very, very well. Very good for arena climbing. Works very well. It can work very well in Territory Wars and Grand Arena as well. You just have to be prepared that there are you could get unlucky and lose some matches there. So I do prefer the Padme counter. Padme counter is a much closer to 100% win rate. So if it's something like Grand Arena where you absolutely have to get that win, I would recommend going with the Padme counter against most of the Kylo teams. But this still does work extremely well. So again, thank you guys for watching. Huge shout out to the patrons and everybody that supported. I love you guys. It's been great. Everything's picking up. I need to get more of these videos. There's been a lot of feedback that you guys want me to continue making these, to do various different ones, and to build up that library of guides on my Discord server. So that's my plan for the foreseeable future. I don't have anything necessarily new or groundbreaking that I'm trying to test at the moment. So I'm going to try and get out a bunch of these counter guides and see what we can get. So if you're interested in providing footage for any of these guides, for any teams that you use a lot in Grand Arena or Territory Wars that you think people should know how to run, definitely feel free to send me some footage. I'd love to have that. So thank you guys a lot. I will see you on the next one.